Hey everyone, I want to share a story with y'all, and this happened many years ago. Probably I think whenever I was 19, and this event basically prevented me from going atheist a few years later. I had gone to kind of this conference in a way, with my youth group at the time, and it was good. The event, for those who may or may not remember it, was ATF, or Acquire the Fire, and during the thing, there was music, there was word and everything like that. It's kind of expected with that kind of conference or event. And near the end, there was a heavy move of the spirit, and at one point, we were laying on hands on each other to pray over him. And a friend of mine who had dealt with, I think, like a knee injury or a knee problem, it was always kind of giving him issues. And we prayed over him. And I looked down at one point, my arm was completely numb, and I couldn't figure out why, because my hand was stretched out straight, and so it had, there was no circulation, so I was kind of basically dumbfounded by that. And then a little bit later, I tried to get up, and I found that I was completely drunk, and I actually fell into my pastor at the time, whom I've known for probably since I was like 5 or 6. So I've known them for a very long time, and I fell into her, and I then looked up at one point there soon, and what they had a very large white cross on the projection board. And what I now know was a vision. At that time, I didn't really think anything of it, but whenever I looked up, I saw this huge white cross. Right when I looked at this white cross, instantly my vision was turned backwards, and instead of looking at that white cross, I was looking inside myself, and I saw just nothing, just pure white. I think I had an idea of what it meant. I kind of just took it and assumed to know what it meant, but now I know for sure that was basically the Lord showing me that I had, basically been washed, and I was pure again, and like He had wiped away all my sins, and that. And after the event, that lasted a little bit. I want to say it lasted a couple months. And there, this is nothing against the pastors, but like I kind of fell, how anytime someone has like this really strong experience with the Lord, and they're gung-ho and everything, and then you go out into the world, you find yourself eventually kind of going back to the norm. Well, that's kind of what happened with me. I went back to the norm, and fast forward a little bit, and I found I was going to college at the time, and I don't want to say I kind of fell in with the wrong crowd, but I was experimenting and kind of just experiencing life, and I ended up started going to this Gothic club. But what I didn't realize is that the whole, and I'm actually gonna tell more of this story later on, but the Holy Spirit was telling me don't go in there, but of course I ignored the Holy Spirit and went in there, and that lasted for a little bit, and eventually I got to this point where I just didn't care. I didn't care about God or anything like that, and I stopped going to church, but for a bad reason. And I eventually got to this point where, like, if I was like searching the radio stations, I would come across the local Christian radio, and I would just skip it on just because I couldn't take that stuff anymore. Couldn't take the Christian music or anything like that, or anything related to the Lord at all, period. And eventually I didn't turn into an atheist, but I turned more agnostic, like knowing he's there, but not really caring or whatever. But the event whenever I was 19 actually prevented me from going full atheist during the time I was agnostic, just because I knew that he existed, but I didn't really want anything to do with him. And so, of course, the Lord kind of pulled me back in by a friend that I met in college. I eventually got back to Christ, but it was still the same old religion. But it was that event at ATF, whenever I saw that cross, that I peered inside myself, that I saw the pure white inside myself. And I really can't explain how it was, but many times that's kind of how it is with those really strong and powerful spiritual or mystical experiences, that you can't really explain it, but with you experiencing yourself, it makes it very profound. It becomes very important and profound to you, so that you can actually go back in your life and say, this is what happened during this time, and this is what happened whenever I was 25, 26, 19. You basically get the idea. But that event at ATF is basically what prevented me from going full atheist. So I encourage everyone to not throw away your previous experiences with the Father, even if you don't really know, quite what it means at the time that you experience it. But I would say grasp it and just move on with it, and don't throw it away. And I also say to those who are currently struggling, to whether you are an atheist, or if you're agnostic, or you're just struggling with your faith, ask the Father to show himself to you, to reveal himself to you, and just wait. Sometimes it happens instantly. Sometimes he starts revealing himself to you over the course of a short period of time. And don't, anything that does happen that you just find strange or odd, don't throw them away. Just kind of go with it, and he'll eventually reveal himself to you in a way that you'll notice. And then he'll probably even bring you people to help you in your walk, to strengthen you in your walk, whether it's in your faith or personally. He'll help you with that. And many times he can even bring you people who are willing to answer the hard questions for you, or live life with you and find out those hard questions with them, those hard answers with you. But I hope this ministered to people. Be short, and I would love to be able to hear from anyone who this helps. The Discord link is in the description. And again, I wish everyone the best.